morning, everyone. Good morning, viewers, both in Nigeria and in diaspora. My name is Adeyinka Igbenoba. And on Today with Adeyinka, we are expecting a guest, Mr. Emmanuel Onwobiko. I hope I got the name correctly. And we are looking at the Lekki Massacre panel report. So what next after the report? So we are going to hold on for our guest to join us. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello. I'm hearing you.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having you on the program today.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So for the purpose of our viewers, today joining with me on Today with Adeyinka is Mr. Emmanuel Onwobiko. I hope I got the name correctly.
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Emmanuel Onwobiko is a human rights activist, and is the Chief Executive Officer, National Coordinator at the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria. So we want to especially thank you for your good work. We want to thank you for standing up and speaking for those that couldn't speak for themselves.
Thank you.
So today we are looking at the Lekki Massacre panel reports. It's been 13 months. Nigerians have been patiently waiting. Lagosians have been patiently waiting. Victims and families of victims have been patiently waiting to hear what their fate will be. There has been a lot of opinion, both for and against. Some people said a lot of people died, some said nobody died. And now the Lagos State government, in person of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, set up a panel 12 months ago to look into people's complaints on the Lekki massacre that happened on the 20th of October 2020, and also in general, victims of police brutality. So now the panel report is out. Actually, we can't say it's out officially because the Lagos State government is saying that they're going to raise a white paper on the panel report. But the report has leaked, and some of us have been privy to see the content of this report. So the question to you, Mr. Emmanuel, is this. Have you seen the leaked document? And what's your take on the document?
Well, thank you very much. I think the Lagos State government needs to step up her action. Lagos State government needs to be more proactive and need to show more transparency and accountability. There is really no reason why a report of such a magnitude and a report that has made very extensive revelations regarding the misconduct and professional misbehavior or misdemeanor of men and officers of the security forces who are paid by the taxpayers, and they now turn the nozzles of their guns against the people and shot indiscriminately and killed so many people. It is not a good thing that the Lagos State government set up a judicial panel that is supposed to be independent in nomenclature. Because if the panel is a panel that is headed by a judicial officer and other representatives, other stakeholders, including representatives of the civil society community, the NBA, and so many other interest groups, including, I think, even the security forces are also represented. And such an astounding report that took 1 year to produce and that cost the taxpayers several millions, because they have not even told us. They need to tell Nigerians how much was spent by the Lagos State administration to administer the panel that sat for 1 year. If you see the actual amount of money that was spent by the Lagos State government, I'm sure it will not be anything less than 100 million naira. This is taxpayers' money. So if you have a judicial commission of inquiry, it is supposed to be independent. You don't need to set up another committee. What is the meaning of committee? What is the committee going to do? Is the committee coming to say that a witness, somebody that was a live a living witness. He was there at the scene of an event, and the person even took the risk of appearing before a judicial panel of inquiry to present his or her testimony. And those testimonies, there were opportunities for cross-examinations. People from various sections, both those who were indicted and those who were not indicted, the victims, the offenders, were all offered abundant opportunities to bring in their own claims and counterclaims. So why do you need to set up a committee to review what? What are they reviewing? Are they going to edit out certain presentations that were made? What? I don't see any sense in what the Lagos State government is trying to do. It's just like the normal Nigerian kind of behavior, kind of attitude of the Nigerian government that we have known right from the time we were children. Why do you keep going round and round the same vicious cycle all the time? Lagos State government should please publish the verdict, make it official, so that people can, even when somebody applies to have a certified true copy of such reports that have been made by the panel, because it's our money that was used. It's not Lagos State governor's money. It's our money. Lagos State taxpayers paid the money that took care of the panel. So it belongs to the people. So it's a public document. Publicize the document. Implement the decision. Unless you want to say that those who were indicted can now go on appeal, because when you want to administer justice, there are avenues for appeal. They can go on appeal. There's an appeal court. Because by law, I think that panel is almost equivalent to a high court, a state high court. So why you? I don't understand why the government is trying to do whatever. And by the way, those people who are even indicted are not being asked to pay any money. The people who are even going to pay the penalties is the Lagos State government that will pay the penalties, or maybe federal government that will pay the penalties. So what kind of committee are you trying to set up? I think it's just a delay tactics that the Lagos State government wants to do. And I want to commend the members of that panel for their excellent, brilliant, courageous, outstanding recommendations and findings and conclusions they have reached. Because obviously, even Satan knows that people were killed. It's only somebody who does not have a heart that will say nobody was killed in an event that was captured live. It wasn't like how do you call it? It's not like Nollywood that maybe somebody was showing a movie somewhere. People showed it live. Television stations were showing it live. People were seeing it live. Some of us were on the streets in Abuja here, and those who were watching AIT was showing it live. Arise TV was showing it live. I think other channel or one other TV was showing it live. And this female DJ,
switch.
Yes, was also showing it. You know, so I even expect that by now the federal government should even give a national award to that DJ. What's her name? DJ Switch. Yes, because she was very courageous. They almost killed her because she had evidence. She had raw evidence to indict a lot of people who misbehaved. If you're a soldier, are you supposed to turn your gun against the same citizens you are paid to protect? We have never seen this kind of thing. Not even in medieval period. Not even in the primitive time. Not even in the cave, when people were living in the cave. You know, can you see soldiers who are trained now turning their guns against the citizens? Or you see police people turning their guns against the citizens? It is unprofessional. In fact, if it is a country that is concerned about the welfare of the people, I expect that by now, even the police, some aspects of the police, like Lagos State Police Command, would have been disbanded totally.
Thank you so much.
Lagos State Police Command.
Thank you so much for that wonderful submission. And I must say that you are beginning to draw our minds to things that ordinarily we wouldn't think about. You know, as you said, this panel was set up for like a year, 12 to 13 months. That Lagos State government should actually tell us how much they have spent, because we know it's not going to be a free endeavor putting those panels together for like 12 months. And another issue you raise is, if there is a panel that has been set and they've done their due diligence, as you have said, for 12 months, why then raise another 4-man committee to look into what those ones have looked into. But this morning, there was a particular announcement from the Lagos State government that nobody should actually comment on the leaked documents until they come out to say this is what it is. But the questions Nigerians are asking is this: if a panel that has been set for 13 months has come out to say this is what we have found out, what is wrong in making that document public immediately so that people don't tamper with the content of that document? Because Nigerians are now saying, because at the end of the day, what they are saying is the leaked document might not be the correct document. So the question Nigerians are asking is this: what is taking so long for the government to make this document public? That is number one. Number two, from the leaked document, we know that some people died, even though we don't know the figure. But the question Nigerians are now asking, and from the human rights activist point of view, the questions on everybody's lips is this: who ordered the shooting?
Yes.
That is what Lagosians, Nigerians, and the world at large has been asking for the past 1 year. Who is taking responsibility?
No, the question is unnecessary. The question is unintelligent. You don't need to ask who ordered the police to shoot. You don't need to ask that question. All you need to do is take up your constitution and look at the section that specifies the provisions that set up the Nigerian police force. Who is at the head of the command and control of the Nigerian police force? I don't have a copy of the constitution here. I would have quoted it. I think section 2 something. The president of the country, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is on his decks that everything lands. So nobody should ask any question. What kind of question is that? Is it my grandfather that asked the police to kill people? What kind of question is that? It doesn't make sense. Look, the police, the law setting up the police says the president of the country has the last say. The IG takes orders from the president. The commissioners of police in the states take orders from the IG of police. That's what the law says. Our constitution is the simplest constitution anywhere in the world. It's the most commonest constitution even a small child can understand. It's in the constitution written that the IG takes his orders from the commander-in-chief. Who is the commander-in-chief? Mr. President. Because the police is part of the executive arm of government. You understand? The DSS is part of the executive arm of government. The armed forces is directly under the command and control of Mr. President. Nobody can order the army to do anything without the president, except if Nigeria wants to go into war. That's when Nigeria will now need the National Assembly to now meet, to now begin to pass. You understand? Do the normal formality. But Mr. President has the final say when it comes to this. So nobody should ask any question. Who gave the order? He gave the order. The president of the country gave the order. So nobody should ask that question.
Okay, there's a comment for you, Mr. Emmanuel. The question is from Mr. Agaudo Owora. He said, Mr. Emmanuel is yet to say if he has seen the leaked report and its content. Have you been privy to that leaked report?
Anybody who has a telephone, even this China telephone that is 10,000 naira, if you have it, you will see the document. The leaked documents are everywhere. In the villages, everywhere, it's all over the place. I have seen it, I have read it, we have commented on it, we have made assertions, we have made recommendations asking that the Minister of Information should be arrested and prosecuted. You understand?
Okay, that is where we are getting to, Mr. Emmanuel. We saw that news. We saw that news that Uriwa is requesting that the Minister of Information, that is Alhaji Lai Mohammed, should be arrested and prosecuted. On what grounds, we may ask?
Well, if you are aware of what transpired after the Second World War, when 6 million Jews were annihilated, certain people came out and said there was never any killing, nobody killed anybody. You understand? And the tribunal that was set up soon after that war, when the world recognized the stupidity of their mistakes and now decided to set up a panel to try all those who instigated the Second World War and those who participated in the killings and the Holocaust. A lot of people were actually picked up and tried, Not because they participated in killing anybody, but because they said there was never any killing. So that is the same offense that Lai Mohammed has committed. Nigerians were killed. Nigerians who were singing national anthems were killed. The whole world saw it. CNN carried it. CNN is one of the most reputable international TV station, cable station, that has been there for about 40 years. CNN carried it. CNN even had to send people, experts, IT experts, to do the kind of verification to see if the video evidence that were circulated on social media are actually factual or not. And they came out with the finding that those videos that were shown live from Lekki Gate, Toll Gate, were accurate. You understand? Everybody knows that maybe because nobody from Lai Mohammed's family was killed, that's why he's saying nobody was killed. What kind of insensitivity is that? It's highly irresponsible. So we say, no, you can't say that. You're a minister. You've sworn an oath by the Constitution to serve Nigeria, to serve the interests of Nigeria. You're not supposed to tell lies openly. You're not supposed to tell open falsehood. He has told lies, and now the judicial panel has said this is exactly what happened. There was a massacre. Lai Mohammed said it was like a massacre without anybody killed. So he massacred the truth. So if Nigeria is a country that respects honesty, if we're a country that is governed by law, not a country that is governed by the whims and caprices of certain individuals, dictators, somebody like that is not a fit and proper person to be in government. That is our opinion. That's our own opinion.
Thank you so much. And this is going to bring me to this question. From what you said under normal circumstances that the Nigerian army or the Nigerian military takes the last order from the president. I must say, and you are also aware, that the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, has been under a lot of, backlash, being the #1 man in Lagos, that this happened right under his nose. So the question now is, if the IG, the Inspector General of Police, doesn't take command from the Lagos State government, in your own opinion, what do you think the governor should have done, even though these people don't take commands from him? What do you think he should have done to protect the lives of those protesters, or to prevent the military invasion?
The governor is not, you cannot completely exonerate the governor. The governor of every state has the services of police people. Police people are all over the place in his office. You have police people working under his office. You have the DSS. He has the opportunity of getting classified information. They receive classified information almost every day. All the governors in the system of the federation get classified information from the DSS, from the police and all this. So the next, if people are planning to have riots or whatever, if the police is working, if the DSS is working the way they should have some kind of intelligence. They give it, they feed it to the governor, then feed it to the president, up there. You understand? The governor, in as much as the constitution does not allow the governor to have command and control over the police or armed forces, the governor, to a large extent, has some kind of limited and or associated kind of control over the police. Because of course the governor funds the police now. The governors of every state, they fund the police. They buy vehicles. They give the police a lot of cash. You understand? They have defense. They have these security budgets that the governors operate. So the governor, if the governor feels that the commercial interests of the state may be affected if there is a riot, the governor may instigate the police to deploy their men to quell the riot if there's a riot. So the governor has a say. The governor cannot be exonerated. He has his own fault, in as much as the last responsibility fall on the desk of the president as a commander-in-chief, in line with the Constitution of Nigeria. The governor also has a say when it comes to security matters in his own state. The governor is not totally incapacitated when it comes to security issues. They will tell him. Of course, the president cannot just take a decision that will affect a particular state without informing the governor. The president will definitely be on call with the governor and say, this is exactly what the police is going to do, so that you know what is going to happen. They don't do it without telling the governor, because the governor, even if the governor is a member of PDP, he's not an APC governor, they will tell him, because that is official. You understand? So the governor of Lagos State also has his faults. He has his own faults. By the way, where is the camera that was found by the Minister of Works? Minister of Work, I think Fashola. Fashola appeared on, found the camera. Where is that camera? He said he found. He found a camera that contains some kind of video recordings of what happened. The video, that camera has disappeared. Nobody has seen that camera. What happened? Who gave the order for the CCTV in Lekki Toll Gate to be switched off? Because before the army came, the CCTV were all working. And there was evidence to show that certain officers of the Lagos state government were seen dismantling the control mechanism of the CCTV. So the governor cannot tell us he has no part to play. He has, if the president is guilty by 60%, the governor is guilty by 40%. So he shouldn't tell us anything. He is just trying to, he's trying to doctor the report. And they can't tell Nigerians that the report that have been leaked are not the original report. Look, maybe people like us may never get opportunity of sitting on such, such panels, because if I'm the chairman of that panel, before we conclude, I'm going to read out the entire report before the people. I'll call the whole press, the whole world. I will not go to the governor first. I will call the whole world. They will be there in the court, because the panel is like a court. So I'm going to call the whole media, the entire world, to see this is our report. When we finish with you, we're going to go to the governor. If we now decide to go to the governor rejects our report, so be it. That's what the panel was supposed to do. The panel maybe behave like a civil servant. I mean, the panel chairman and the other members just behave like people who are earning their pay from the government. Otherwise, they were sitting like a court. Court of law does not need to go to the governor to say, this is our decision. No. When you go to a court, I was a court reporter for the Guardian newspaper for 7 years in Abuja. The way they do court proceedings, when they do the hearings, the judge will come out and read out his or her judgment before the people. Why do you attend that? Yes. Yes.
That's quite an interesting one, Mr. Emmanuel, and it's been good to have you. For those just joining us, we are having a conversation with Mr. Emmanuel, who is a human rights activist. Sir, you were not opportune to be amongst the panel, but the question is this: if you were opportuned, or if you had your chance to advise the governor of Lagos State as regards this report and as regards how victims or families of victims could be compensated, what would your advice be?
Well, my advice would be that the governor should compensate the victims exactly how the panel has recommended. Because I'm sure the panel definitely wouldn't have made a recommendation that is beyond the reach of the government. You understand? The panel couldn't have said, government, go and compensate people with an amount of money that the government, Lagos State government, cannot generate. You understand? And no amount of money will be able to bring back a life of somebody that has been wasted unnecessarily by the army. In fact, what we should even be talking about is, are there individuals that were listed, individuals that committed murder, that were listed, those individuals who opened fire in the Lekki Peninsula, those individuals should be arrested and prosecuted. I'm talking about those rascals, the rascally soldiers who appeared. We saw them on TV. They opened fire with the guns we bought for them. Some of us have been paying tax in the last 30 years. We bought those guns with our money and we're paying tax. They now use the gun. Some of them don't even pay tax. They now use the guns that were given to them in their military training to now open fire and kill civilians. Those who were even singing national anthem. Some of them were even holding the national flag. The offenses the soldiers have committed, it's not just that they kill people, but they should be tried for coup plot. What they have done is treasonable. The offense they have committed by killing people who were holding the national flag of Nigeria, who were singing the national anthem of Nigeria, they have committed treason. They're like coup plotters. They should be arrested and prosecuted for mass murder and for treasonable felony. If Nigeria is a reasonable country, a country that thinks well. By the way, what is the essence of one becoming patriotic? If I know that if I'm singing the national anthem, one soldier who just went through 12 months training, we just take up a gun, AK-47 or AK-49, and kill me while I'm holding the constitution of the country, holding the flag of the country. That is the highest symbol. The highest symbol of Nigeria is the flag. There are countries that if you go to and burn their flag, you will go to prison for doing that. So the fact that the soldiers shed blood of citizens of Nigeria on the flags of Nigeria is a very serious, it's an offense that has never been committed, except maybe during the Civil War. The offense they committed now is similar to maybe that Civil War time. You can say maybe because it's a war, two groups were fighting. But this time around, people were just peaceful, demonstrating. You now take a gun and open fire and just kill as many people as you want. You didn't end at killing people. You now also you stole the corpses and went away with them and disappeared for life. And now Lai Mohammed is telling people, who are those people whose families lost their members? Lai Mohammed, I don't want to say anything because we are on the social media. Lai Mohammed doesn't know that in Lagos, there are a lot of people in Lagos streets who don't have parents. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe because he's from a privileged home. He's lucky to have someone like Tinubu that has been taking care of him politically and got him an appointment. If he's a lawyer, will he succeed to become a minister? He cannot be a minister if he's just a practicing lawyer. How many cases has he defended up to Supreme Court? Lai Mohammed, he's a lawyer. How many cases has he defended? If not for Tinubu, can he get to where he is today? So what I'm saying is this: if you go to Lagos State, there are a lot of people in Lagos who don't have parents. I'm talking of children who were born and just dropped on the street. Some of them grew up in the street. Most of those people who came out to demonstrate don't have parents, don't have anybody. So are you not saying if somebody grew up, like all these Almajiri, some of them cannot even trace their homes. Almajiri, I'm talking of Almajiri that you have in the north. So will you not say, who are the parents of Almajiri? Do you expect the parents of Almajiri, maybe the parents are long dead, do not come out and say, I mean, he should be, it doesn't make sense, no?
That's quite touching, quite touching. Now, finally, before we go, when we talk about the EndSARS protesters, when we talk about the Lekki massacre, there are two groups of people, the for and the against. The for are the people that thinks, yes, these youth, they are tired of the impunity, they are tired of the intimidation and the oppression, and the youth actually felt their voices will be heard for once. But there is another group of people that thinks the youth went too far by blocking the roads. Some said they came out looting, burning banks, burning buses and everything. In your own opinion, if you want to address the youths, as the general elections are coming closer, 2023, now is the time not for the youth to protest, but for them to wake up and act. If you want to advise the youths on the way forward, on how to demand on their rights, being a human rights activist, what advice would you give the youths?
Yeah, first and foremost, the mistake some of us used to make is we used to see protests as something that is not, that's not strange. Protest, peaceful protest is a part of democracy. If you go to any democracy and you don't see people protesting, that democracy is dead. Maybe it's like, how do you call it, Saudi Arabia, maybe Saudi Arabia or China. Any democracy that you don't see a set of people, either market women, either students, either traders, or maybe teachers, protesting over one thing or the other, agitating over one problem or the other, then that democracy is not working. So if the youth want to protest, they should be allowed to protest. If they don't protest, there's a problem in Nigeria. So what I'm saying is this, what the youths ought to do, and it is not true that those who protested against police brutality, looted factories, looted banks, looted food stores, and no. What actually happened was protesters came out. They were very peaceful. They went on the street. They spent the first day, second day, third day, fourth day. Some reactionary elements in government went and hired armed thugs. We saw them. They hired armed thugs. Those armed thugs were conveyed in SUVs. I'm talking about Abuja, where I live, I've lived in Abuja for 25 years. In Abuja here, we saw Almajiris that were brought. I'm talking about mature Almajiris, people old enough to be like 25, 30. Armed thugs who were holding daggers, who were holding knives. We saw them where they were being mobilized in zone 3 in Wuse. They carried them in SUV, the type of SUV that you see DSS carrying. Expensive SUV, I'm talking about expensive SUV. So some of them were now carried and straight to the point where they have protesters. They now infiltrated the protest ground and started stabbing people, started shooting, started killing people. So those hoodlums were the same people that went to start burning houses, looting shops. So the protesters didn't even have time. Look, let me tell you, so many protesters even lost their cars in Abuja here. I'm sure of Abuja. Many protesters who were driving, because how they were doing the protests in Abuja, which I'm aware of, some of them came out with their cars, very expensive cars. Some of these protesters are people that have startups, that have a lot of very thriving businesses, rich boys from rich families. They're not wretched people from one kind of place. A lot of them who were demonstrating were families, were children of very rich, in fact, children of the same elite that are governing this country. So all of them came out on the street. They were all driving their cars, Mercedes, so many kind of cars. They are driving and going in a, how do you call it, on a convoy. These hoodlums invaded the protest venues and smashed the vehicles. We saw it live happen. So it is not true that the protesters did any damage, any kind of damage. Those who did the damage were people who were hired by certain people within government. The people who hired these thugs and hoodlums are government officials. That's why government has not been able to find out who hired those thugs, who gave them, who carried them in those cars. Because the video evidence is still there. If you Google now, you see it. If you just hold your phone and Google it, you see them. You see the vehicles they use to convey them in Abuja here. So who gave them those kind of expensive vehicles to convey those hoodlums? I mean, so, but what I think the youth should do, the youth should begin to think of how to participate in the next election. This crop of politicians we have, with them, we don't have any hope.
Okay.
It will just be business as usual. Yes. So I think the youth should participate actively in politics, join the political parties. The youth should not say politics is dirty. Politics is not dirty. Politics is not dirty. Politics is not supposed to be dirty. Politics is supposed to be the centerpiece of governance. Politics is supposed to be the forum where you debate and take decisions on how to govern the country. So you cannot say that kind of enterprise is dirty. If it is dirty, then the country is dirty. So the youth must make up their minds and mobilize themselves and join politics. That's why we're happy that the National Assembly has passed an amendment that introduces direct primaries, which means if Onwubiko joins PDP or if Onwubiko becomes a member of APC, now I don't need to be a delegate in order to select who will be the presidential candidate. By virtue of the fact that I'm a card-carrying member of APC, I'm qualified to decide who becomes the presidential candidate. That's the best kind of approach. I don't know why the governors are opposed to it. So I think that is the only way. If they sustain, if the president signs the amendment, and that amendment is sustained, the Electoral Act amendment that says nomination of candidates for elected positions has to be by direct primaries. That's the most beautiful thing that this government would have achieved. Obviously, I mean, for a fact, Babangida started it. Babangida started this option A4, where you go and line up. You go and line up behind your candidates. You understand? That's direct primaries. So there's nothing wrong in doing direct. In fact, that's the best. That's the only way you can help the youths. You don't need to bribe. You don't need to bribe anybody. You don't need to bribe anybody. If you accept bribe to vote for a thief in a particular locality, everybody knows who voted for the thief. So when there's a problem and you complain, they'll tell you, keep quiet. You were the one that voted for him. We saw you on the line. Look at the evidence. Everybody has a phone now. So when there's a vote, political party nomination process, everybody will record it. So I think direct primary is the best achievement this government will ever make. The president should not allow the governors to confuse him, not to sign that amendment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's been nice. It's been intriguing talking to you, sir. So for everyone watching us, for those that will still watch later, what I want to take home from Mr. Emmanuel Onwubiko's last submission is this. The youth should get involved. We don't have to sit down as a youth. You don't have to sit down and think things will get better. So the only way to get involved the only way to get things better is to get involved in your locality, in your area, in your local government. Get involved. So on behalf of all our audience, on behalf of the entire crew at AIG Media Pro, we want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Emmanuel Onwubiko for accepting to be our guest today. And from time to time, we will still call on you to rub minds on issues that affect our country, issues that affect youth, issues that affect our rights as human beings. Because as we say, we were first human beings before we had a nationality. So thank you so much for having you on the program, and thanks to all our viewers. So today we'll be saying bye-bye.